Should be good.
So I can call the meeting to order?
Yeah.
Okay. It is 6:30 and I would like to call the meeting to order. Catherine Cranston? Here. Bruce Belargin?
Here.
Roxanne Kendall? Here. Patty Jo Forsberg?
Here.
Bob Gunther?
Here.
Katie Thurnes?
Here.
And Lori Belargin here. District mission: together we engage, educate, and empower all learners, bridging their passions to pathways to create successful futures and positively contribute to our local and global communities. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I would like to make that motion to approve the agenda with a change. I would suggest that number 9 and 10 be moved up. In employee handbook is number 5. I would like the district health update and the virtual distance to be in front of that. So that would become 5 and 6.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. I did not receive any, neither did Dr. Bezick, so we are on to number 5, the employee handbook. Mark?
Yeah, I think,
Is Jody gonna come in or is she
I'll
going to
see
do
her
it
online.
remotely?
Jody, are you gonna do this remotely?
I thought
Weren't we doing 9 and 10 before the employee handbook?
yeah, we adjusted
yeah,
the agenda.
9,
Approved it.
the district health update.
Should be the health update right
Yeah.
now.
Sorry.
Okay.
I thought maybe you misunderstood what you did. I was like, I'm just gonna go with it.
Okay, Ryan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and give us what you got.
Yeah, so kind of updates so far as of today with the new CDC guidelines now in place. We have adopted those new guidelines. So the old guidelines were still at 14-day quarantine for close contact individuals. For individuals who test positive, it still remains at that 10-day quarantine. And so the new CDC guidelines that we've adopted now have 3 options for quarantine, just for close contact. The positive quarantine still stay the same. So the first option is a 7-day quarantine. So if you go out as a close contact and you choose to have a 7-day quarantine, you would need to be tested on day 6 of your quarantine. And if you get negative results, the soonest you could return to school would be on day 8 of that quarantine. The second option is a 10-day quarantine, which does not require any testing at all. You would simply be able to return to school on day 11. Granted, you do not have any symptoms at that time. And then the third option, which is still the recommendation by the CDC, is still that 14-day quarantine option. Again, no testing is needed, and you can return to school on day 15, so long as you're not having any symptoms. The 7-day option, the risk of transmission for that reasoning is still 5 to 12%. That is why the CDC has allowed that one. And for the 10-day quarantine, the risk of transmission is between 1 and 10%. And so the CDC also accepted the 10-day quarantine option. Things to keep in mind though, if you do decide to come back early from quarantine between option 7 and 10, those individuals will still have to closely monitor for symptoms. So even if an individual tested negative for that 7-day quarantine, but they started to show symptoms in school, they would be excluded from school at that point and be asked to carry out the rest of their 14-day quarantine with a possible need for retesting. And so the 2 types of testing that are allowed are the PCR testing and the antigen testing. The testing that is not allowed is the antibody testing, which only shows that you previously had the infection. And then an update for our district numbers. Currently we have 11 total COVID active cases. We have had 53 recovered COVID cases. We currently have 131 individuals out on close contact, both staff and student. Total close contacts this year for the school year since September 8th, we have had 840 individuals out on close contact. And so total positive cases this year we've had, both active and recovered, is at 64. And those are the updates I currently have regarding the COVID health updates.
Thank you, Ryan. Does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns?
I just want to thank you, Ryan, for being so on the ball. And when this came out, this new recommendation, getting it out to people right away, you really did a great job on that, and the community really appreciated it.
Thank you very much.
How does everybody feel, the administrators that have had to do the contact tracing, basically looking at what students maybe had contact, looking at the video and everything? Is that feeling more manageable?
They got it down to an art right now.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, they really got a system going, and then, Ryan jumps in, and they have some other people that jump in and help them, so it's, I don't hear much about it anymore. At first,
Yeah.
because the county started doing it, then they got overwhelmed, it all fell on us. But it seems like it works better with us doing it because we know what to look for and where to look for where these kids are and that. So now it's, and our numbers comparatively around us are lower than other districts. And you are seeing now other districts looking at bringing kids back in earlier now than some set, after holidays, or, they set 2-3 weeks out of blended learning. Now they're looking at bringing back earlier. And then you see nationally, the trend right now is these big districts that went totally virtual are bringing kids back in, and that. But again, we've been fortunate, and again, I think it's a credit to everyone involved here, and the parents too. It doesn't work if just internally. It has to have the external effect also, and they've been doing a good job. I just can't say enough about that. It could be a lot worse, and we're hoping for the best.
I'm glad to hear it feels more manageable for them.
Thank you, Ryan. The next item then, virtual and distance learning update.
Brandon, Trish?
Yep, I'll take that one. Where'd I go? Just a couple things about updates on numbers. With the trimester starting here in the middle school and the elementary school, we had some students return from virtual to go to their respective schools. What those numbers look like. We had 7 elementary school students move from virtual to face-to-face this week. 12 middle school students and 3 high school students. And then at semester, we're looking at 3 elementary school students, 2 high school students, and one middle school student who will move from virtual to face-to-face. Of those that moved, we'll have 5 who will go to homeschool. And coming up at semester, we're going to add about 6 students. We're not sure exactly. We have to call them back because we just finished up with our period of enrollment. So we'll get into that. Otherwise, with all the students that came back, I want to say about 10 of them came back today. And they were all smiles and love coming back and greeted warmly by Mrs. Eichten and the middle school crew. We had 1 high school student come back today as well. A set schedule for him that is going to look great to get him through the semester. Otherwise, we're just trying to make it all about, or not all about content, because the relationships that are built with the students are very important as well. So we added the high school added an advisory for all students starting Wednesday, and they'll be joining their fellow in-school classmates in advisory during the day. So otherwise, that's the biggest update since last time we met. We're just looking at getting everything wrapped up and finding what we need for courses here in the next few weeks, and then seeing if we have the correct teachers to administer those classes.
anybody have any questions or comments? Thank you, Brandon.
Yep, you're welcome.
On number 7, then on the agenda, the employee handbook.
I think Jody is coming in here. Oh, there she is.
I,
Okay, can I take this down? Is it sound
if
wise?
you prefer.
Yeah, you can over there.
Okay, so the handbook committee met for the first time, and we've decided we have, I think, a good approach to working through this and getting it approved and ready to go for a July 1 implementation. So, attached to the agenda is the first section we were going to try to get to you guys for the first reading, and it's the provisions applicable to all staff. So I'm open for questions if anybody has stuff we want to talk about in this section for clarifications.
I had emailed Jody today and we talked on the phone for quite a while. Was there one thing that we were gonna talk to the rest of the board about? I can't remember. Or did we figure it out?
We figured it out. There were a few couple things that just needed some clarification as to, like I had a comment by something that it's like, what was that referring to? And we talked through a few things. There's nothing large in content that we changed or added. So it really is pretty much ready for the board to read through it, to, when they're ready, move it to the business meeting for approval as that section won't go into effect until the whole handbook is adopted for our goal, once again, a July 1 start date. We don't want bits and pieces approved and trying to know which section we're operating under which time frame. So we're gonna start with this section, and I think the next section is probably the teachers, but that won't come to you until closer to the February work session because the January 1 turns around right after break, and we won't have time to meet as a committee and get all the work done in it. So.
And overall, there are really not that many changes from the employee handbook that we've been operating under for the last several years.
No, I would offer, I showed this to Lori and Catherine. We have in the district, and Jason and IT has been helpful in implementing, it's called Staff Resources. From their landing page on the Chromebooks class link, they click on an icon that takes you right to the Staff Resources page where we have all kinds of folders and resources. So instead of like putting all of these unnecessary appendixes or attachments or like just different things, it will refer the employee to Staff Resources, which is where I have them constantly going to get forms, whether it be for purchasing or health insurance or different things. So if you're seeing a reference to Staff Resources, I did show how easy that is and how good it works, and we'll be trying to link things within the handbook to just pop them back there.
Hey Jody,
Yes.
it's Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, thank you for getting going on this. I just have a question on the extracurricular part, on page 29 of 39 in our attachment. And it's a very brief sentence that just says, extracurricular assignments shall be compensated per the established stipend.
Correct.
So we have separate letters of assignment, letters that go out
Correct.
to people. And so, you know, this year was really different. And I'm wondering if that's the language we want to use. Or do we talk about the agreement, pursuant to the agreement? And not just say the stipend.
I see what you mean.
So, this,
If that, maybe it's just because it's talking about salary.
yeah, so what we did here was, it used to be a percentage off of the base wage of the first year teacher, like it was very kind of like, how do we calculate these stipends? So what that is saying is it's no longer a percentage, it is a flat rate stipend.
Yes.
But this year with COVID, and we put into all those contracts, that if the season doesn't start, they get a, you know, there's different percentages based on what happens with the season. And so maybe instead of saying shall be compensated per the established stipend, it should say shall be compensated per the agreement or contract or whatever that thing is called that each advisor and coach signs.
Would that stipend be part of whatever the updated number is based on the season?
Or you put an
Because they don't get
asterisk.
paid till after the season anyway.
Yeah, cause this is, and that was a good piece of work as far as adjusting just in cases, but maybe, you know, if we form this for the long haul, and then maybe an asterisk for, you know, a sub piece that in case of or in lieu of.
Do you see what Katie
Yeah, but
was
could we
talking
just
about?
add a sentence that says, per the established stipend outlined on the letter of assignment? Because then on the letter of assignment, it breaks down if you don't do the whole season, if you don't,
Oh.
you know, if we just say as outlined on the letter of assignment,
Perfect.
Yeah,
we're not tied to any specific language, so if that language isn't on the assignment letter next year, we don't have to redo that section of the handbook. If we adopt it permanently, it's on the letter of assignment. Keep it simple in the handbook, refer it to the letter. That would be my recommendation.
how does
I
that sound?
agree with that.
Okay, thanks.
Sounds good.
That was a really good catch, thank you.
Really good answer.
Good answer.
Did anybody else see anything? We've got a couple more weeks to go over this if you would like, and it will come back for this first section will come back for approval at the regular board meeting. All right?
And then that's the format we'll use going forward, is a section at a time and try and see if we can get through this and ready to go.
How many sections are there? I forgot.
I would say, I think it's 4 or 5. You know, we have the general, we have the teachers, supervisor, support staff. Admin is not in that, they're in their contracts. Then in the beginning will be the end, in the fact that that's the last section we will do, because it's the table of contents. It's where you find things on what page numbers. So once we get all the sections done and can get that all uniform, like numbering, then we will come back with the table of contents that will direct to people. So we will finish with that instead of starting with that. So, all right. Well,
Thanks.
thank you guys for your time.
Thank you,
Jody.
and thank you for all your work on this.
We're gonna get it.
All right, the next item on the agenda then is the policy updates. And there's an attachment to the agenda, and I sent an email out with a page of notes and the 6 policies that had choices in them or other language items. Did anybody have any questions about any of those? So I'm talking about items A through K right now. One of them, we got Abby Bahada's recommendations on, the one for school safety. The video surveillance, we got the administrator's recommendations on. All right. Then the next two were more discussion. We're bringing these back again. So 3440, 4440, 6423, the job-related expense reimbursement. We had gotten some questions on this one, and I added to the bottom of the notes a suggestion, but it's just a suggestion that I thought might address the questions we were asked, and I'd like to hear what the rest of you think.
Lori, I read the suggestion and I thought it was really good. And I thought it captured everything, I just don't know, will that provide Dave with the guidance he needs? I'd like to get a little bit of feedback on that.
Okay. I haven't heard anything from Dave, but I don't know that he's seen it. I sent it to Mark and
Right.
Tasia.
Did she send it?
Did you?
Yeah, she said.
I didn't see it, did you send it to me?
What should be the note?
I thought I did, maybe.
I can't find the comments.
It was in her attachments.
I
It was
see
the-
but
She just had a one-line comment for the policies,
Read it.
34. It's a very small rating.
And it's on the attachment with
On this
the-
one?
In the one that's titled notes,
First.
and it's at the very bottom, it says discussion.
So like a district-wide staff event, that's what you're saying, like the lunch that we have at the end of the year. What about so I was learning about this, so the administrators, we give them a budget that they have in their, each school, or the school has a budget and they go through every year. Can they take some of that money and have meals for like the Saturday ACT teachers? Would that not qualify under the district-wide staff events?
My understanding has been that in these last few, when does the ACT test happen?
January or
Isn't it
February,
during the
March.
school day? Isn't that why
Yeah,
we send?
it does, it is.
The
It's-
ACT test is on a regular
Yeah,
school
it's not
day
on-
during the school day.
I think the makeup is probably on Saturday, but.
But I think you were just using that as an
Yeah,
example.
I'm just, I mean, when I guess if Shannon will buy something for a group of PLD teachers or something, even though it's in her school, I would say in the high school budget, is that something that can be reimbursed for meals, or are we saying, nope, unless it fits? Is that, I mean, I know we need to have a guideline for everybody or a policy for it, I just, you know, I'm not against doing something nice for your staff. I know it's taxpayer money, but I mean,
Well,
You can't
does
use
this
and abuse
policy
to me.
actually say now that we can't provide water or coffee or rolls at any kind of event or?
No, because if we add this, and if you looked at that response that Dave gave to that email quite some time ago,
yeah,
It
we
said-
can still do the why.
he was still doing the beverages and the student.
Yeah, I get that. I think that was really clear, that we can still use school funds for student activities.
Yeah.
But what I'm asking about is for staff activities. Can principals, I'm asking the same question Bruce is
Yeah.
asking. Does this policy forbid a principal for using their budget to buy some water or some coffee or some rolls for their staff if they're gonna have a staff meeting in the morning or a
Not-
community building?
Not if it's like district-wide. So if like parent-teacher conferences, you know, that's, the 3 buildings are separate, but it's district-wide.
What about a Friday morning meeting?
That's
at your
just at the
school?
high school. Shannon does not have the ability then to use the funds for that. It has to be district-wide. That's where I think.
You know, I wanna say that we don't have, at the county level, any ability for a department head to buy treats for employees on the taxpayer's dime. And we certainly will bring in stuff ourselves. There is no line item budget for us to do anything like that, nor is there a slush fund budget. And I'm not trying to sound like a wet blanket, but I think as priorities go, if somebody wants to bring in treats, they can bring in treats themselves. I am not comfortable using taxpayer money to buy treats for early morning meetings or for employees. I'm just not.
Especially when
Sorry.
it's during the regular, like the ACT.
I'm not
thing.
comfortable with it at all, to be frank. I'm only one board member, but I'm not comfortable with it. We bring our own in. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
And Katie, I hear you,
yeah,
I hear you, and my school is the same way, and I just remember the feeling as an employee when we were told that we had to bring our own water, or they weren't gonna have coffee anymore. It just felt like, I don't know, it wasn't a good feeling as an employee. I understand where you're coming from, and if that's the way the world is going, I get it, but as an employee, I remember it felt like we weren't appreciated anymore. It was an odd feeling.
I know.
Yeah, I hear ya.
I totally get that, but I think it's backwards. So if they had never had it, they would never expect it, right? But at the same time, I don't think we should be doing that. I mean, I've had working lunch meetings with administration, and where you don't get a break, but you bring your own darn lunch. Or if you order
I
out,
hear
you
ya.
pay for your own lunch.
That's how it is at my school.
How about if can we earmark some of the donations that have been given to us by generous people in the community? And since they haven't told us what to do with that money, we can make a decision to take a little bit of that and put it in an employee, for lack of a better term, employee morale fund. Why not? It's money that was given to us, and I would think the majority of the community would be happy with us putting money toward employee morale.
Well,
I could not object more strongly.
Jack?
Object.
Yeah, okay. Question or comment there. Let's use the ACT for example. Those teachers are locked up with these kids all day. Whenever we take people out of the norm, like conferences, when they're here, from crack of dawn till evening, I have no problem with providing some type of, meal or whatever for them. But, Kathy and I both come from the same system where it's just, the expense of taxpayers' dollars is just, we can't use it that way. But you can set whatever direction you want with this. The thing with donations though, the vast majority of those are earmarked for different things. And I think we'd run into a lot of trouble if we take donations and use them for, for personal use in the district. I just see that as a big red flag. There's other ways of being creative with this, just like what you arranged, with the new business in town. That's how, in the past, I got around things, was having outside entities and businesses say, hey, will you host conferences by, supplying this, this, and this, and this. And usually you get businesses that are pretty willing to do that. Again, it was a little surprise to me that we were as free with using dollars for whatever, we have in the past, but whatever you guys decide, I'll support and, enforce. But we're stepping outside of the norm of Wisconsin schools right now, because what we're doing, our past practice has been what every other district is doing, with how administrators use cards, how we spend money on different things here is pretty common around the area. We go in this direction, we're more emulating what they're doing across the river.
Hi, it's Patty. I'm sure you can see that. I, as a public employee for a long, long time also now, with multiple things, I just feel like there's better places that the money can be spent. And I understand the morale issue, but, we're hesitating on giving raises, we're freezing other stuff, and this isn't, it might be commonplace in Wisconsin, but in the districts around us, I would say, not even so much all of Wisconsin, but it is not commonplace as a public employee, and I feel like we need to have we have to be accountable to what we're putting out there. And on top of it, there's an equity thing also involved in it, where not everyone is getting these benefits because they're not signing up for it, or they can't make these things. So it's not, I would rather have those funds be somewhere else. And if you add up the money that it's been over the years, it's thousands of dollars that has been used on this stuff. And just because we've always done it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it good for taxpayers.
Did we get dollar amounts?
It's on, it should be on every month.
Yeah, I don't know if they had, I put a note out to them to, see if they could put some dollar amounts of some of these pieces and that, so, and I haven't seen anything on it yet, so I don't know if they had it.
Well, I would think they would be able to put dollar amounts on all of them.
Yeah, and I,
So
I
would-
get some
I would
proxies.
And I would-
be interested in that.
Yeah, I was just able to count up the dollar amounts, and I didn't write it down, but it was $1,000 over a 9-month period, or over $1,000 over a 9-month period, that I just looked into, prior to us doing, or right after just my treasure area. So, it's not feasible in this time, in this economy and in our taxpayer, I really feel like we have better places that money can go.
Well, it doesn't require action at this point, right?
No, it's a discussion item, but it'll come back on the December 21st meeting for action.
I mean, so right now, in that policy, I mean, it's saying, so basically is, unless you have an overnight stay, you cannot be reimbursed for food,
Right,
or meals.
yeah, unless, with this addition that was the suggestion.
So that's how they all read. I mean, just because it's how it is in Minnesota, I mean, I get the money, but again, on an $18 million budget that the school has, $1,000 that gives some food to teachers, I don't think is a huge dent in things, and I would be just fine.
But it's not, sorry, Bruce, it's not just the teachers though. I mean, there could be 10 people that get 5 meals, that's $500 right there. And then it's $500 for some, it's not all of the teachers get it, it's not distributed that evenly. And if it were, it wouldn't have been a big deal, but it wasn't. And that was part of the issue is it's not like all of the teachers in the district are getting, free meals all the time. That's not what it is, or for these things. It was select, and it wasn't a thing that was fair, and it wasn't above and beyond what the normal work duties were. It was, so.
It sounds like it was
Yeah.
taken advantage of, is what you're saying.
What was that? Sorry.
It sounds like it was taken advantage of, kind of the.
It was more of a, this is the way we've always done it, so we're just gonna continue doing it. It
Well-
wasn't, I don't think there was any ill intent in it at all, but it was just that, it was always done, so why not charge meals for this, even though there was no necessity for it. So.
Well, I agree there needs to be some, but I sure don't wanna be put the hard pass of, it's nothing unless you're going over somewhere overnight. I don't think that's the way to handle it, and I see, Lori, you put on your input of how to do, I mean, I like that better than nothing, and at least maybe it gives some discretion to the team. I don't think it had to be district wide, I mean, just a,
But I completely disagree that this is
and I
just a
completely
Minnesota
disagree with
thing.
you, Katie, so, I mean, we can keep fighting this all day. I hear what you do at the county, I understand, but
No, it's as a public employee.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, it's not just the county, any public employee, this is not something, and I worked for 4 different departments, or 4 different state and local entities. It's not a common place for any public entity.
Now, I researched all the other school districts around here. They have language that does include periodic meals purchased for staff, volunteers, and et cetera. So we'd be the only school district in our neighboring communities that wouldn't have language in there. So I just want to make that point. The other thing is, what about classroom celebrations and some of the other things?
The suggestion in the notes document addressed that.
yeah, believe me, I would be, this is somewhere we can put in, I'd have so much better than what we currently have, I think, if that's where we have to meet, that's where we have to.
I think it addresses, many of the concerns.
Yeah, Bob, in the notes section that Lori put on, she added, with the exceptions of student celebrations, rewards, community member events, and district-wide staff events. So that essentially hits those things that you were talking about.
That might be a nice compromise.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I mean.
So it doesn't address the issue totally, as Patty Jo and Katie were pointing out, but it doesn't stop it totally either. And
But it does put some controls on it.
right,
Yeah, and I guess the only problem is that people were taking advantage of it and then things go away. It's just-
So that won't preclude, say, let's just say at the high school, if, or one of the buildings has an outside benefactor saying, hey, would you sponsor something for this event that we have? As long as they're not using district funds, they can have someone else come in, so.
I
well,
think so.
And even
yes.
as a district, if we wanna do something different, have someone sponsor it.
The more sponsors you can get, the better.
Right.
I would ask you to look, however, at another one of our policies, and I don't, unfortunately, I can't tell you the number of it right off the top of my head. I think it's in the 8,000 or 9,000. If you give me just a second, I would just like you to caution you to look at that policy before following through on anything.
Yeah, you can just send me the number of it.
All right.
The number when you get it, and then we can take a look at it.
And then is there anything else that anybody would like to discuss about letter L under item number 8? And then the administrative guidelines for 6423. I don't see those attached. Are they attached and I'm just not seeing them?
The policies?
Oh, it's
No, it was the administrative guidelines.
here. We're looking at it, I'm looking at it right here.
You have Neola administrative guidelines templates for
Okay,
6423, it's right after the 40,
Yeah. It's
okay.
it's like the 5th one.
So then D would be removed.
Why would we remove D? Oh, I see.
It's a blank line,
I'm looking,
okay?
I'm looking at the, other D.
All right, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, you're right.
all right,
And then 5 and the next one.
all
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, okay.
Did anybody have any questions or concerns about the administrative guidelines there? All right, then, the policy updates A through M will come back to the regular session for approval. Number 9 on the agenda, the future construction projects, Mark?
So if you pull up that list that I sent out, hopefully it's a little cleaner and clearer than what we've been working off of in the past. I'm just gonna go through these very quickly so you get some context with them. The first 7 pieces were items that George and I have talked about for a while here, and we keep coming back to looking at these. The carpet replacement in the high school. It says 7,000 square feet, which is about 7 classrooms, because those classrooms are anywhere from 900 to 1,000 square feet each. Exterior door plate replacement at the middle school and high school, which I think that's probably we feel the strongest about that, because that really tightens up the building envelope on those 2 buildings. The bleacher, which can be considered a health safety issue there. The divider in the gym, the wrestling hoist, the mat hoist. The next 2 pieces I've got in yellow, because when you look at the grand total here with the fax room and the sprinkling, you're really pushing what you have left right there, and that's not allowing much for any error in spending that money, because we got roughly about 2 million, little right around there. I would suggest that one of those 2 items comes out of there, which allows you some flexibility for some other things that may come up this spring. And then if you look at that smaller add-on projects, these are things that once everything was built and it's operating, they say, oops, why didn't we do this or add this, what have you. So these are a list of different pieces here. A couple more sinks in the high school science rooms. I didn't realize this, but evidently the sinks, when they put them in the science rooms, are only set up for cold water. I didn't realize that, but that's common.
Oh.
For some reason, that's common. Well, they want some hot water in there. So that's the modification for that. They have that flex area in the science area. They want that more of a sound barrier in there with glass partition to seal it off from the hall so it's not so open. Ventilation to the science storage cabinets. Additional high school, middle school furniture, because some of the classrooms, they didn't completely buy all new furniture. They're reusing. Some classrooms didn't get anything at all. We want to clean up that hallway down by the gymnasium, what we call the athletic hallway down there. It's pieced together and what have you. And we can do some really nice graphics down there to really spruce that up to look like the rest of the building. And then, the electronic signage, now that dollar amount there, that's in our construction budget. There's $120,000 in that, so that's not something extra. I'm just saying that's what the cost will be if we walk down that path. And so there's a placeholder in our original budget of $120,000 for monuments. So again, there would be another 50 that would be tagged onto that 300 that's left in the contingency if we did go ahead with this. The larger projects really have to wait for some type of referendum. There's just no way we can tackle those out of the budgets we have right now, or even attempt to. And if you, even the, I think if we were prioritizing things here, that getting rid of this building and the parking here, to us is more of a safety issue than anything else. But again, with the price tags that these are at, I just don't see how we can do it unless we take something major out of that top list there. And when you look at that top list, that totals 1.9, I would suggest, just me, I would suggest taking the sprinkling out of there, because if we renovate the fax room, it really benefits kids. Now, we haven't had sprinkling for 20-some years in the elementary, that can possibly wait for another referendum down the road. That's just my thoughts.
And we just got sprinkling in the middle school.
We
and
just
high
got it in the middle school and the high school.
And the middle school we've had for 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah, so, again, I think that fax, that wing where the fax and the art is down there, I think, Jason, you guys are down in that wing in the middle school there. That has basically had nothing done to it through this renovation. So, again, if we took that, if we looked at 1 through 7, if we took 7 off, that gives you a lot of leeway to see what happens over the spring, and if we have to include something or another, different project.
And then we could possibly do some of those smaller add-ons if the budget will allow.
Yeah, I think, if you take one of those out, these add-on ones you could do. There's, yeah,
What you said, 2.1, right?
what's that?
2.1 million we have left?
Right, yeah, we got roughly around 2. So I would, we could easily take these add-on projects on, which again would, add a lot to the buildings, and they'd benefit kids. So that's our thoughts on them. You don't have to make a decision tonight. If there's anything you want more information on, I can sure dig it up for you.
If we take out the 630,000 for the elementary school fire sprinkling system, the whole smaller add-on project list adds up, the total is less than that, correct?
Yep.
And we'd still have money left over for what might happen this spring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it needs to be a good safety net. Again, we have till August to, expend the referendum dollars. So I think that would put us in a really good position.
When do we need to make a decision on this in order to get it done?
Well, we'd want to get going on as soon as possible so we get bids out, and it's kind of like we're at the same stage we were with the referendum a year ago. This time of the year, there's some engineering and things that have to be done. They'll put it out, spec it, they'll put it out for bid, and we probably get bids, back sometime in February or what have you, and then they'd be ready to go to work.
So does this need to come back to our next meeting for action?
Yeah. If you want to take action in December, I think that'd be appropriate timeline.
Are we really want to replace those bleachers? I remember we were talking about doing kind of a full-on athletic auditorium, music area kind of referendum on the next one, instead of throwing these bleachers now and then adding your turnaround in now. The district office parking turnaround, that's 400,000, and if we take out these 300,000 in gym, divider, mat hoist, and then the sprinkler one out, you could add in all those extras, plus the turnaround for here, the parking, and then not have the sprinkler or the stuff in the gym. And I get it, those bleachers are brutal, and I don't like them either, but
I'm kind of thinking, I think this is just my opinion, I think the bleachers would be the next piece. What you look at the number of people that are in there using them, they're antiquated. When you do this out here, I would almost suggest that you wait until you decide to do something with that auditorium, so you're tearing everything up. I think we'd have less cost when you do everything at once out here. And I just think those bleachers, we put a lot of money into the high school. Bleachers would be kind of the next thing in there, because that's a tough setup in there.
Mark, would it be helpful if we were to provide, input for you to go ahead and get bids out on 1 through 5? At least to start?
Oh, yeah, definitely, if we act on it at our next meeting, we're in good shape. As long as, we have an idea, as long as we kind of agree that here's the things we want to look at, then I can get them starting to work on it, then we cement it at our next meeting. And if you have any questions over the next week or so, let me know and I can get some questions answered for you on that. But I think, again, if, I think what Lori pointed out there, if we take the sprinkling system out, we can do these add-on projects, and I think those will be a lot of nice things for the buildings we've already done. You know, I mean, they'll just finish it off. Yeah.
I'd like to see the updated price on that bleacher, because I think with the wood and materials and that, I could see that one running a lot higher. I thought it was $290 last time we.
Well, we were
priced it.
surprised at that also, that it was, this low, because I think George said he had gotten an estimate a few years ago and it was a lot higher.
Well, I remember it was $290 when we did the estimate with M&J, you know, on like the DD estimate a year ago, I thought it was like $290. But still, I think with the price of lumber and price of wood on those bleachers, I think that thing would be.
Well, they wouldn't be wood again. That's one thing, that when they replace them now, they don't,
They'll do all the plastic and
Yep.
like,
yeah, there's no wood.
We replaced the bleachers at the middle school just not that long ago, right?
Well,
3 years ago?
no, it was before I was here.
4 years
it's been a
ago?
while, I think.
Well, this is my 5th year.
Sarah, do you remember?
Yeah, because I was pregnant with Nolan, so it was 9 years ago.
Oh,
I was gonna say, I have rough it all there.
Very
Yep,
It seems like it wasn't that long ago.
no, but it was. 2011,
So,
yep.
Sarah, are those bleachers made of wood?
No, they're
No,
plastic.
they're plastic,
And
no,
are they holding up well?
very well, they're very quiet. Yeah, they're very nice bleachers, yep.
That's just how they're made now.
Okay,
So we'll firm up these numbers, and so just for topic conversation, so we're looking at holding off on the sprinkling. Okay.
Sure.
We'll get things put together to come back to the,
I do have another question about the electronic signage. The last time we talked about this, Bob,
yeah, he just sent me the link to take care of all the city variants and what have you. And again, we're in no hurry on that, so, but we'll walk through the stages of it.
okay, because we never voted on moving forward with that
Right.
electronic signage.
And so again, you know, we can do that whenever. That's not a hot ticket item right now.
Okay. Did anybody else have any questions or concerns about the construction projects?
We'll firm all the numbers up and we'll get them out to you before the next meeting. Oh, one other thing. I got a note here, I didn't put it on here. We wanna do something with this room here. These chairs and these tables are backbreakers, these chairs have been here for ages. The tables that we sit at here are really tough. So we wanna, I'll get some numbers for you, but I think it's appropriate to redo this room too. I'm saying tables and chairs, so.
So that information will be on the next.
I'll get
That
some.
would be under the smaller add-on project?
Right, yeah, that's I wanted to put it on here, I totally forgot about it. You know, the way these people move these tables, these are just killers for the gals to move around and what have you, so we can look at something different.
And I think we somehow could do a different setup so we had more room for people. And
That's what we'll look at doing.
Well, and we're not in COVID.
When we're not in COVID, but that's not gonna last forever.
Yeah,
So this list is complete as far as,
That fan gets too hot. It doesn't-
Had overheated.
this is what, in a perfect world, this is everything we wanna do. Like, there's,
At this moment in time with the dollars we have.
And for future too. like-
And again, it'll leave us a
Yeah.
little bit of a cushion to see what comes up this spring. You know, if something else.
I think Roxanne's even saying for future items though, so like we could be working towards the next referendum, cause I mean, we were getting
Yeah.
that we have a $20 million here worth of.
Oh, okay, yeah, and see, you know, that's about it, Bruce, there, you know, the other half of that referendum that we were looking at was about a $20 million piece that would have added some more classrooms, it would have added a couple gyms, it would have taken care of the track and field out here, and the auditorium. So.
anything else? Are the rest of our board members temporarily disconnected?
Nope,
No,
they should
they're
still be
still
connected.
Oh, okay, good.
And the sound should still work, it's just the video's out.
All right, thank you.
So, that's it.
Item 10 on the agenda is the WASB convention resolutions, and they were attached to the agenda. There's 10 of them. Catherine and I both read through them. Catherine and I are both signed up to attend the WASB convention. And, you know, one of the advantages this year is that you don't have to go to, where did we go, Milwaukee or Madison?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. You
Yeah,
don't
I
have to go-
love that it's online, and then you get to pick and choose which speakers you want, and you don't have to walk
And
there.
it's going to be linked for an entire year.
Well,
So you,
sign me up.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, because you can watch them at your leisure, you don't have to be there on that day.
yeah, because I know that for a lot of board members, it's difficult to participate because you have to take off work. But
And a
Yes.
whole day, this, you could just go in and watch one of the sessions that you're interested in, and then a week later, look at another one.
yeah,
That pertains to what we have going on.
Yes, right, yeah, I'm excited
Yeah,
about
I
it.
agree.
so if any more board members would like to sign up, please get that information to Tasia. Catherine and I have read through these 10 resolutions, and we support all of them.
Well, we've talked about a couple, I mean, we've talked about a handful of them, I think, already.
Yeah, I thought they were
Before, I was
really good.
kinda, maybe it's because you're up to date on them all the time. Talked about a lot of them.
Mm-hmm, yep, they were all really current
Broadband
issues.
access, enrollment hold harmless, instruct, you know. So this will come back to the regular session for approval. Did anybody have any questions or comments on any of them right now?
I'd like to ask about the 1 cent sales tax.
Yes,
I'm not sure that I would support that. I get why you want to. But I don't have enough information based on these, like, couple of paragraphs to support a 1% sales tax. That is a regressive tax.
Lori, at the board meeting, do we vote on each one, whether we're gonna recommend it?
we can.
Well, maybe we should, because if Katie feels strongly about one of them, we should definitely talk about that.
Sure. And I remember in previous years, well, this was quite a while ago, but I think, Catherine, you were on the board. There was a resolution that had something to do with public dollars going to private schools.
Yep, I remember it well.
One of our board members did not want to support, but, yeah, so we can definitely do them individually.
And then we can have a discussion.
Yeah,
Does that
I'd
sound
rather
good, Katie?
support that than this. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, this will come back then. And 11 is once around the table. Patty Jo, did you have anything?
Negative.
Bob,
No,
Katie,
No.
Roxanne,
No.
Bruce,
No.
Catherine?
No,
And I do not either, except, you know, same as always, thank everybody, the administrators, the staff, the families, the kids. I cannot believe that we are still open. And I'm so
Miracle.
thankful to everybody for the work they're doing to keep us here.
I saw a
Ryan,
kid walking outside today down my road. I was running and I said, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I have to do my 30-minute outdoor education something." Or I'm like, yeah. So he's just cruising down the road doing his outdoor. I was like, this is awesome.
yeah.
They're finding ways to get it done.
Yeah. I had to laugh.
Okay, then, I will make a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851C to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of a public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We